And I am doing another primary source analysis today. We are going to focus on the Salem witch trials, which I think you see on my computer. Yep, so this is the Salem witch trials right here. And we're going to go over this today. This is primary source monitoring and questioning. That is the third major skill that we do in my classroom. And we're going to focus on the sub-skill number 2 under primary source monitoring and questioning. So it is identified ideas, images, or terms that need to be further defined or explained. So I'm highlighting it right there. You should be able to see it. Yes, perfect. This is actually a pretty easy one. Really, all you have to do is identify things that you don't know yourself and need to define. And then a big part of the skill is actually setting out and defining that thing. So we are going to go into here. I'm just going to go in my box. I'll make number 1 just to get us started. And we're going to look at the Salem witch trials. So I'm scrolling down, and we have this little bit of information right here. I'll read it out loud. And I'll get my little handy-dandy marker pen. Here we go. So again, I will read this out loud. And as I scroll down, you should be able to see the primary sources. So you have one here from Cotton Mather. And if I keep scrolling down, there's another one that says Testimony of Abigail Hobbs. Both of these people were associated with the Salem witch trials. Cotton Mather was a leader of the Puritans, and Abigail Hobbs was one of the women that was convicted. So we're going to just read this a little bit right now, and then we'll go into the primary source. And again, we're looking for identifying ideas, images, or terms that need to be further defined or explained. So these are things that we don't know because we just lack the experience. So here we go. During the winter of 1691 to 1692, girls in the Salem village, Massachusetts, began complaining of a strange illness. They described feeling sharp pains and the sensation of being choked. The first girl to feel the effects was Betty Paris, so that could be a person we don't know, so we'll underline her name. Daughter of Salem's minister, Samuel Paris, so again, good name to highlight. The second was his niece, Abigail Williams. Reverend Paris believed the sickness was the result of witchcraft. So it seems like this guy, this reverend, so he's a priest. It seems like he is a person who is mostly involved with trying to find the witches, because both of his daughters are complaining of being sick or having these sicknesses. Let's continue to read. The girls accused 3 women of being witches, including the Paris family's Indian slave, Tituba. And I'm going to highlight the entire description because her name is Tituba, but it gives information right here too. Tituba confessed to being a witch and accused more women. The parade of accusations continued until 20 women had been convicted of witchcraft and executed, and 100 more were in prison. Why did the girls make these accusations, and why did so many people believe them? The documents below provide clues to Salemites' beliefs about witchcraft and about the context in which the event took place. So those 2 paragraphs just give us some background information. The Salem witch trials happened between 1691 and 1692, and it was it was a result of persecution against women. There was also some just town politics that were involved, and so Salem witch trials is actually a pretty complicated topic. But the witchcraft part is a big issue of it, and so is religion. Like, religion's like a really big underlining effect, and we'll see that probably soon as we read these primary sources. So scrolling down, we're going to look. It says Discourse on Witchcraft, Cotton Mather. This is our first primary source. And remember, we always read source information. That's very important. We should always read the excerpts. So it says source. Excerpt from a 1688 speech by Cotton Mather, a leader of the Puritans. Mather argues for the existence of witchcraft. So Cotton Mather is a person we should underline, and he's a leader of this group called Puritans. And so we've already got a couple names, and Puritans is a big one. Names of people are pretty obvious. We're not obviously going to know who they are unless we've already done reading about this topic. And Puritans is another name, but for a group, not an individual. So in here, we don't actually know what Puritans are. It doesn't tell us. We do know who Samuel Paris, Betty Paris, and Abigail Williams are because it tells us. But it doesn't say what Puritans are, so Puritans is a really good thing to write down. So we should write down Puritans, because we don't know. So if you don't know what that word is, you should put it down, because again, you don't know what that means, and then you should look it up if you don't. So, as we scroll down, it says, Leader of Puritans, Mather argues for the existence of witchcraft. Let's read the little 3 paragraphs they have. So Mather says, quote, I will prove that witchcraft exists. Those who deny it exists argue that they never saw any witches, therefore there are none. That would be as if you are, sorry, I messed up. That would be as if you or I said, we never met any robbers, therefore there are none. I have two pieces of evidence that witchcraft exists. First, the scripture mentions witchcraft. We should highlight scripture because we don't know what that is quite. Secondly, many people have experienced the horrors of witchcraft. Okay, witchcraft is a most monstrous and horrid evil. Witchcraft denies all that is holy and just and good. Witchcraft is siding with hell against heaven and earth. End quote. So wow, Cotton Mather's really intense. He is really into this idea. It almost seems like he has very strong beliefs about his religion. And it says scripture right here, and it's capitalized. Most likely, and I'll put a C right here for Christianity. I'll put a B here for Bible to remind you. But most likely, the scripture comes from the Bible, the Christian Bible. I know the Puritans are religious. I know they are hyper-religious. They are a people who fled England because they wanted to create a more purified society. Puritans, get it? So the fact that he is from the Puritans makes him pretty hardcore. And this is from 1688. This comes, let's see, almost 12 years. Yeah, 12, 13 years before the actual event happens. So this is the kind of environment these young girls found themselves in, a very hardcore religious society, one that did not like things that went against Christianity, and especially didn't like things that were like blasphemy, like witchcraft. It even says here, witchcraft is siding with hell. It's pretty hardcore. So that's the kind of context that they're living in. And we can maybe understand why these girls blamed each other if they truly thought witchcraft existed. So Puritans, we could write down clues. So the fact that we have Cotton Mather here being pretty hardcore religious, we could say something like, these people believe in strict religion. Fair enough. And again, you would Google this later. So if we go to Google and type in definition, and you can't see what I'm doing right now, but I can actually just write in Google. Haha, now you can't see. No, you can't. Google, you're mean. Well, anyway, all I'm typing is definition Puritans. Maybe I can move my... Yeah, here we go. Haha, there we are. I'll move my logo. So you can see all I did was Google definition Puritans, and it gives me a definition right here. That's just a basic information. You could also look it up in your book, too. Like if you had an index and you look up Puritans, that would be fine. So continuing to scroll down, we're going to skip the questions. We're going to read Abigail Hobbs now. Is she one of the girls? Was she? No, that was Abigail Williams. So this is a different girl. Her name is Abigail. This would be a popular name. And this is the testimony of a teenager accused of witchcraft, Abigail Hobbs, on April 19th, 1692. So this happens, kind of the tail end. And somebody must have blamed her. I'm not sure from the source who it was. If you do some reading about it, you definitely can. If you're one of my students and you're doing History Day, you should do the Salem Witch Trial because it's awesome and I have a lot of books about it. So I'm going to read her. So there's two people talking, the judge and Abigail Hobbs. And it doesn't really say, it gives us information right here for Abigail Hobbs. So if I would write Abigail Hobbs down in here, or any of the other names, you could just write this stuff right up here. I'm not going to write it because hopefully you understand me. I want you to just write this stuff, okay? Now, we have this guy, judge. It says, Abigail Hobbs, you are brought before authority to answer the various acts of witchcraft. What say you? Are you guilty or not? Speak the truth. Abigail Hobbs says the following. I will speak the truth. I have seen sights and been scared. I have been very wicked. I hope I shall be better, if God will help me. That almost sounds like she is from a Puritan society, that she feels like she's very guilty and wants God to help her. Judge, what sights did you see? Abigail Hobbs, I have seen the devil. Judge, how often? Many times? Abigail Hobbs, but once. The judge, what would he have you do? Abigail Hobbs, why, he would have me be a witch. Judge, would he have you make a covenant with him? And Abigail Hobbs says yes. And a covenant's like a pact, or like especially like amongst a group. It's a pact amongst a group, or in this case, it's like agreeing to make a deal with the devil, or just basically have a relationship with the devil. So again, just kind of being a witch. I have virus. I should get rid of that. There are a lot of things we don't know about this source. It's pretty vague, and so what we would want to do is we want to do circle or write the things that we don't know, like the judge, for example. And a lot of you are like, well, how do we search this? Well, we know he's from the Salem witch trials. So right here we could say search for Salem witch trial judge who interviewed Abigail Hobbs. See? Nice and easy. Now, you don't have a lot of information, but you can Google this later. And if you look at this, all we're doing is identifying ideas, images, or terms that need to be further defined or explained. That's it. We don't know who the judge is. We know very little about Abigail Hobbs. We just figured out what Puritans are. And if we scroll through this, we might find more information that we don't really know. Like covenant for a word. Like you might not know what that word meant. I mean, I defined it for you. That's a word that might be a little above even a high school vocabulary. You might not just know what it is. So you'd want to find it, and you can just you literally could just go to Google, type in definition, type in covenant, and there you go. You get something. It says an agreement. An agreement, especially by lease, deed, or legal contract. Kind of like what I said. So I think let me rush through it one more time. I don't think there's much else in here as far as practicing our skill. If you are doing a Salem witch trial project, this is a really cool source. There's a lot of information in here you should probably try to use. But that's all really primary source monitoring and questioning is. All I need to see is that you're doing this, looking for things, and then defining them. And that's it. Okay? So I will post the links and everything in the description below. If you are a teacher watching these, please let me know if you have any questions. If you're one of my students, you may comment below. Feel free to share these with other people that you think might benefit from it. But otherwise, that's all there is to do. So thanks for stopping by. Take care.